Hey, yo, when you in this deep, is what it looked like. Man/woman in the middle as a means of preemptively caging dissent under the what do we have on them doctrine. Hey, listen, it's reflexive satire. You can't have reflexive without the flex. Simply trying to make sense of complex subjects. Using different tools to reduce the stress. Yeah. When all else fails, study yourself and those around you. That's what I like to call pure, unadulterated elicitation. Wink, wink. Yo, so we out here, man, still trying to overcome these hurdles. So look, let's start analyzing this joint from the standpoint of how the algorithm is put together, for what purpose, and how someone of my ilk might view it, whether good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. Keep in mind that at this point I've been isolated for several years, in part based on my own doing, street smarts, but also by design, in my humble opinion. Now, we've covered how the framework would look to create an initiative that uses tools like sonic conditioning and controlled schizophrenia to stage reality. Why? Well, off top, Myron May, Aaron Alexis, the T-word simulation, coordinating the crash out, designated incel archetype, and the various legal implications related to the aforementioned. That alone, as you can imagine, requires the lead to be buried on one hand, but on the other, definitely requires some analysis of the hot individual. Shout out to Hip Hop Legal. The conundrum, I suspect, is that where traditionally you would have more opaque methods to gather intel on this particular archetype, you're now forced to be much more creative to develop a profile. Thus, the most effective method is to use YouTube per the individual's digital blueprint as a form of media staging reality, as a form of algorithmic predictive policing. Do me a favor real quick. Pause the video to appreciate my artwork. So look, here's a scenario. You got a ninja like me, and you want to learn about this person. How do you go about doing it? You man in the middle, the devices, all right? So based off of his digital fingerprint, we got to ask ourselves, yo, who is this guy? Here he is talking about Myron May, as you can see that picture there. Is he someone that we can connect to ISIS, possibly? Is this some sort of indoctrination to become a T-word or black identity extremist? Can we frame it from that angle? Put that aside, all right? So this dude, he also apparently has an OnlyFans where he purports to call himself Clout FCUK. What's that about? What does he have going on in that realm of his existence? Is there a sexual deviant or predation angle? And then, hey, we've heard that there could be guys that are connected to mafia-style operations, whether through illicit substances or blackmail and shakedown operations. Could he possibly be a spy, maybe somehow connected to the Kremlin in all of these various operations that have been upending democracy? We've seen mention of him speaking languages. Is Russian or Chinese a part of this guy's modus operandi? What does he think about feminism? Was he a fan of Kevin Samuels? What does he think about the fact that Kid Cudi put on a dress on Saturday Night Live? He sure does love to role play. Is he susceptible to putting on a dress, read acquiescing to gain access beyond the digital firewall? We've got to figure out these Malcolm X or Martin Luther King wannabe pseudo-intellectual black power types before they gain any sort of traction. All right, so let's look at the YouTube algorithm. So that's likely how they would approach it. But let me step back for a second and say this. I know and have proof that two things are happening. Number one, content creators are actively participating in the gaslighting through keywords and little weirdo indicators that can arouse suspicion, thus creating the paranoia state that these folks are looking for to refine their psyop. Number two, there is a mechanism that's embedded in YouTube videos from the past, really at any point, in which the individuals that are speaking can be made to say weird things. I'll just leave it at that. But all of these are distractions, because keep in mind, quote, the interrogatee may start laughing or fail to take the situation seriously. But as the process continues, day after day, if necessary, the subject begins to make sense of the situation, which becomes mentally intolerable. Now, he is likely to make significant admissions or even to pour out his story just to stop the flow of babble which assails him, close quote. Now, what I've realized is that when you remove the babble, quote unquote, IRL, they bring it to the digital space to try to stop you from elevating. Anyway, here are a few standouts from my algorithm. The man who walked into the fifth dimension. Ooh la la. Now, without even watching the video, I dig the title because I've always had the lingering feeling that maybe the best way to approach this is from a dimensional standpoint. Everything I'm building, again, sits on various dimensional planes. So it's like right on. But then, per usual, something happens that tries to stop me in my tracks or bring me back to reality, if you must. So in this scenario, it was an update. YouTube all of a sudden, out of nowhere, stopped working and required an update via the Google Play Store. Remember, this is the only thing I'm rocking with to continue to elevate and stay with the right mindset through this whole experience, you know? But naturally, there has to be that thing that steers you in the direction that misinforms you through information warfare. Straight up, the first time I experienced such a thing, I'm sitting back watching some obscure video on MIT's YouTube channel, a lecture, and all of a sudden, the professor starts making intimidating comments based off of my plight and really had nothing to do with what he was presenting. Hey, listen, man, say whatever you want, think whatever you want, but controlled schizophrenia is a real law enforcement tool. But anyway, after I made sense of it, I just shrugged it off like, these motherfuckers got a lot of tools. I should have been
Being a black man in America isn't easy. The hunt is on. And you're the prey.
Facts. Anyway, so I complete the update, and here's what the algorithm provided. First on the list, we have rappers' most disturbing live streams. Now, keep in mind, having an understanding as to how machine learning and deep learning works, I make a point to really curate my algorithm by selecting the videos that fall into a category that will induce ascension and transcendence. You heard? While I'm not knocking the content creator, I have never clicked on any sort of video that has to do with disturbing the live streams, and even less rappers. That was perplexing, to say the least. But then I remembered I released a video yesterday about my experiences on South Beach, going through the targeting/organized harassment experience, and how I documented them on my other YouTube page called World POV Films. So remember, put yourself in the shoes of the cruel hater. If they really wanted to try to be slick or cute in terms of implying and or suggestibility, then they would take this route. It stands to reason. Now, this is where I believe they've sort of engineered me being pitted against the algorithm, because no one's watching my videos from all indications. But why is the algorithm be so precise in terms of targeting content that is being suggested to gaslight me? Anyway, subscribe to @WorldPOV Films and check out those live streams. Next up, we have PBS Frontline and their video thumbnail, Death by Fire. This makes me think about the slow burn, how an execution in Texas sparked a national debate. Now, as it relates to Frontline, I sent all the information to them about Myron May in case 423CV 01013 USDC Southern District of Texas, Houston Division, and never got a response back. So let's put an asterisk next to that, as well as a few other media organizations out there, because they're doing something interesting that resembles PR/media one-upsmanship as a means of obfuscation or changing the narrative. Hey, or maybe I'm just in sync with content and production dynamics as it relates to South Florida. IRL, of course. But I make the post yesterday, and here comes WPLG 10, local station down here in South Florida. YouTube star Jack Doherty resumes posting content following an arrest that took place this past Saturday. Impeccable timing from another media organization that I told about. Case 423CV 01013 USDC Southern District of Texas, Houston Division. So we'll put another asterisk there. And then what else in the algorithm? Oh, the results came in with Operation Unmasking Predators. Now let me say this. Out on the streets, like they trying to play the implicit suggestibility game as a means of entrapment or inducing a primal response, a clear violation of one's Fifth Amendment rights. This is the gray area that folks are manipulating under the guise of AI at the grassroots level to provide more bodies to lock up. This next one's a doozy. I can brainwash you to M word. Out of respect to anyone that's listening. I've never clicked on anything of the sort, and I don't know why this would come up. Actually, I do know why. The one video that I found on YouTube that doesn't change words to try to strike a nerve, again, under the digital interrogation framework that requires the constant priming of an individual, is this video here, False Flags, The Secret History of Al-Qaeda. It has to do with how 9/11, you know what, I'll just leave it at that. It talks about 9/11. If you want to watch it, go and watch it. But this appears to be one of the only videos on YouTube that doesn't switch up the narrative and keeps it pure. But the findings will definitely make you think, especially when you juxtapose it to my experience. But nah, I play this video in the background when I go to sleep. So based off of my interactions with large language models, it would appear that this can create some of the ridiculous suggestions. I suspect that this discrepancy is being manipulated in some manner to continue this long, strange trip of quelling dissension by shutting down this black man. You know, the large language model states that the AI cannot discern intent just yet, but I'm actually working on that. And in that spirit, and again, sort of seeing the responses that I'm getting as it relates to content creators, in my algorithm, let me be intentional and state my modus operandi. I want to learn. I want to be great. I want to provide value, get a return on my value to make the world a better place. Period. I don't want to hurt anyone, despite the hurt that is being done by this organized harassment apparatus. We still cool, yo. We still pushing forward, and we still trying to make the best of whatever it is that comes at us. So you've seen it, and you'll continue to see it. If not now, whenever it pops up in your dimension or in your algorithm.